So my next point, step three, point number three, is I want to talk about myths and lies. I'm going to talk about myths and lies told on blacks in America that may be affecting your passion and your heart in working to build your own community. Maybe affecting the fact that within 6 hours, over 90–95% of our income has gone to other coaches. Some of these myths and lies may affect your thinking. So I'm going to talk about a couple of them. Cool? Let me give you an example. One time, I'm an independent artist. I'm a singer, songwriter, right? So I'm independent. I'm a star in my own little world, my own really small community, right? So only a few thousand people know me from around the world. I've got a chance to tour, all that stuff, yada yada, whatever. But one time I paid about $2,500. I had a show in Baltimore. I paid about $2,500 to the radio station. And what that got me was a host. It got me some airtime, commercials, and all this other stuff. When the host came to the show, the host said, there was a point where in the show, the host said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Marcell," it was in the backstage. He's walking out of his dressing room. And she's saying this on the air, on the radio. So I got friends on the way to the show. I got people may have never heard me perform on the way to the show. He's coming, he's almost dressed, he's ready to do a circle up and do a prayer with the band, and he's about to rock it here in a couple, just going on and on and on. I meet up with some of my friends after the show. Man, that was awesome, that was crazy. And they were talking about you like you were a star. It was just crazy. Even on the radio, man, and you sound like, you were packed. It said, one of my friends said, "Man, I don't know what you did." One of my friends said, "I don't know what you're doing in the game to make them talk about you like that, but it was incredible." I said, "Oh, I know what I did." They said, "What?" I said, "I paid him. I paid him $2,500 to say, 'Hey, I'm coming out. Hey, I'm doing this. Hey, I'm doing that.' I paid them." So you just saw that a little earlier, the businesses pay $1.4 billion. You got to understand, when radio was created and when TV was created, they were never for TV shows and they were never for songs. Radio was not created for songs. TV was not created for these shows. They were created to tell the masses what to do. It was like, man, now you can reach all of these people, tell them what to do. But when they tried that, they couldn't keep people's attention. So when they added the music, right, now you can listen for 40 minutes to music, and then I can give you some direction. Listen to 20 minutes of music, I can give you some direction. TV, you can watch the favorite show, you laughing, ha 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 ha. Then I can tell you some stuff called the news. I could sell you commercials. Ha, the show was cool. Then I show you methodically these 3 products right after that scene. You pay for the narrative. So I want to talk about a couple myths in the black community that you got to understand. These narratives, in most cases, are paid to be told to you. 540,000 black men have killed black men in the past 40 years. You know how many white men have killed white men during that time? Over 3 million. Where is it talked about? Why ain't nobody paying for that story? Hitler said, "Tell a lie, make it big, but keep it simple and keep repeating it, and they'll believe it. Period. Tell a lie, make it big, make the lie so people are like, well, it had to be true. Nobody would just do something like that. Nobody would do, like, oh, who would do, like, they must have did it, because nobody would make that up." Right? So that's Hitler's basic style. Tell a lie, make it big, keep it simple, and keep repeating it. Mark Twain said, "It's easier to convince somebody of a lie than it is to convince them that the lie was not true." It's easy to lie to them than to convince them that what they were told, that's not even true. You got to pray for great love. And one of the things about love is 1 Corinthians, it says, love delights, gets excited, goes crazy, gets pumped up for the truth. That's love. So if you don't like truth, if you're not around things telling you the truth, If you like a lot of hype and media nonsense, you don't like love. Because the Bible says love, the way the Creator created love, it delights in the truth. It's easy to build your own economy. It's easy to build your own community when you know the truth, the whole truth about your people and yourself. Tell me what you think about this, right? So imagine a couple, a black couple, right? They're getting off from work. They cash the check. They whether went to a check cashing place or they um, got money from a direct deposit, right, from work. They cash their check. They take out maybe 90%, 95% of their check in cash. Set the rest of the side away. Set the rest of it away. Drive to the house. They see the children, right? They stop by the house. They see the in-laws. They greet them, say, hey, we'll be back. We got to make a run. They ride up the street to maybe about 5 miles to a totally different neighborhood, kind of more upscale neighborhood than theirs, right? They park. They get out the car. They knock on the door of the neighbor, and out comes a white male and a white female, a couple. And they got their friends by, and the black couple gets out the car and says, hey, we just wanted to give you our check. This is the most of our check here. And they said, it's good. I'm glad you came by this week. You know, how's everything? And the black couple says, but listen, we got an issue we need to talk to you about. You know, the father says, I'm sick of seeing my son on the news in a bad light. And the other day, you guys almost half killed my nephew. And that was horrible, man. We were going to come by here and make a scene the other day. You guys need to really work on that. Can you work on that? And they say, I mean, yeah, we'll work on it. But are you going to still bring by your check? Can you still bring your check? Yeah, we're going to bring our check, but you need to work on that. Okay, we'll work on it. And they look back at their friends, half smirk, and it's just, okay. And then the wife says, yeah, and another thing, the way you show my daughter in the media, in the news, is absolutely horrible. You need to really change that. That's not cool. I don't like how you depict my daughter. And you make her look like she has an attitude all the time, and she's hyper sexual, and she has no discipline, and she has no value of herself. She's very proud and bitter, and etc. And I don't really like that. We'll work on that. We'll work on that. And they say, all right, you need to change that, okay? Because if you don't, we're going to come by here with a bullhorn, and we're going to march up and down your street. We're going to make a scene. We're going to embarrass you in front of your neighbors. We're going to invite the local news, okay? I know the police might show up, but we have our right, and we're going to go up and down here with the bullhorn. And they said, well, we don't want you to do that. But if you do that, and you're going to still bring your check, yeah, we'll always bring you our check. You can have our money. You can have our savings and stuff. You can have that. But we're going to make a scene, you understand? And they say, okay, we'll work on it. And as the black couple was leaving, the wife turns around and says, oh, yeah, and I just want to remind you, can you come by and tell my daughter she is pretty? Please. You promised you was going to come by and tell my daughter she was pretty and that she did a good job at the play. And the white wife says, that's kind of weird and awkward. I mean, can't you just tell her she did a good job? I mean, why is that not enough for you to tell her? She needs you to come by. I told her it doesn't really count unless you come by and tell her. And they look at each other kind of crazy, and they say, well, we'll try to stop by after work tomorrow. All right? Okay. All right. You tell my daughter that. Well, y'all have a good day. They drive home. They get out the car, and they have dinner. Right? And the son says, Daddy, Mommy, why are we eating cornbread and milk? I thought we were eating some steak and some juice. And the father leans over and said, boy, you shut your mouth. We don't have enough money, but we're going to be gracious because God provides, and God is wonderful, and God loves us. And we're going to pray. And Daddy, I thought you had it. Boy, we're going to trust God. Just put your head down, and we're going to, because God is good. And they start praying, right? How crazy is that story? Stupid, right? Don't make no sense. I believe that's how God looks at a lot of the black community and the Latin community. I believe a lot of us treat white supremacy, and we've bought in this retarded religion, treating whites like a god, handing them your economy, handing them your inheritance, and then have the audacity to pray to God to come deliver us. And we created, in many cases, our own famine, gave away our own resources, our own money, and then wonder why God's not there. And don't get me started about these award shows. The Oscars, right, is what thousands of folks, almost virtually all of them are white. The judges, 70% of them are white males over 50. And you wonder why Monster Balls was receiving the oh my God, I can't. And everybody's crying. We got people on news embarrassing themselves. Then when the Black Awards come, a lot of these actors and entertainers and performers won't even show. They'll send in a video. Listen, if my white neighbor comes over, I got some beautiful daughters, right? Beautiful kids, period. But my two daughters, 3 and 1 years old, they're gorgeous. If you come to tell me my daughters are pretty, I appreciate that. That's nice. I mean, it's reaffirming. But me and my wife are going to remind my daughters that they're beautiful every day. I mean, we're cool. We're not going to take any pictures with you and put it on our news feed and great excitement and exuberance as though God came down. No, it's coming back. Thank you for stopping by. Have a good day. You didn't even really move anybody. Thank you for noticing, because I'm going to probably hear that 10 more times before the day's out. Why do we in the Black community, when we know there was great work done, that our acknowledging the great work done is not enough? We got to go look to see, do the 10% of the planet, which Europeans only make up 10% of the planet. People of color make up 90%. There's 10% actually, do they think it was good music? Who are they? I wonder why God's not going to bless that. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm always excited about Africans or African Americans who get the point with that, who do not look to the religion of white supremacy to validate you. I'm looking to the Creator and God Himself, the one who created my eyes and ears, to ask, what do you think is beautiful? One of the Africans went to go buy his daughter a doll. And they didn't have enough. They didn't have any black dolls. They didn't give his niece. He had a daughter, but he had a niece. And it clicked. I'm not buying these dolls that don't look anything like my niece, so he just made them. What it's done in Africa, it's now replaced in many senses the Barbie. So much so now, all of a sudden, when Barbie was leaving profit in Africa, they got freaked out that the African Americans would start buying these dolls. Note to self, too late, I already bought a bunch of them. The company is called Queens of Africa. I bought a bunch of these dolls and had them shipped over. I just thought they were absolutely gorgeous. And this brother is actually, forget it, you guys listen to it yourself.
If you asked me what was wrong with this doll, I'd have to say absolutely nothing. It looks like one of the dolls I grew up playing with. Granted, it is skinny and the dress is tighter, but yep, it's more or less the same doll. Now, if you asked me what are the characteristics or attributes I can relate to with this doll, you know what? There's absolutely none. But the funny thing is, I never thought about it. But Taufik Okoye did. And inspired by the wish for his daughter to play with dolls more in her likeness, he created the Queens of Africa range. The art of doll making is not usually a field a man would go into. So why did you choose it?
This came about because I have a daughter, and I know that she picks up a whole lot from her surroundings. And from there, I thought I could actually make a difference, in imparting and empowering the girl child.
How did the Queens of Africa come about?
It was my niece's birthday. I'd gone into the store to get her a present. I wanted to get something that would be beneficial to her development. And first of all, on the rack, they were all white dolls, and they were very expensive. Then I started looking into the research, and during the course of my research, I also found out that they had nothing to really offer the children. It's all about glitz and glamour. And I thought this would be an opportunity for me to actually start emphasizing on certain values and virtues, which I believe would make us better people. So that's how come the passion.
What began as a passion to find the right role model for his daughter quickly became a successful business, but Okoya continues to challenge himself.
We try to create different themes, and we have different types. For example, I'll show you this one. This is actually threaded, yes, the eastern part of Nigeria. So it's almost like a Medusa kind of thing, but this can be done into like almost like a basket, and and then in some cases they put beads on them. So what we do is to deplete the different types of culture and tradition that we have in Nigeria. So this is another avenue of actually getting them the different kinds of cultures documented.
The dolls are some of the best dressed women in the world. Each outfit is handmade and each doll is hand dressed and accessorized.
Is that not incredible, right? This man has staff, employees. He's building his community and meeting a need and changing the culture and the climate of how these people see themselves throughout Africa. How was the white barber the #1 seller before that? That's just crazy to me. But we can do what he's done if we keep our economy. Then we can begin to change our narrative. What narratives? What myths? What things are we told on how to see ourselves that are not? First myth: black men do not love black women, and that black women are not lovable, and we don't want to marry them, and we don't want to be with them. Gracious. In 2014, just in 2014, black men married almost 90% of the women that we married were melanin women. Black. I don't know, my wife is half African, half Puerto Rican. Give me some melanin, yeah Lord. 2014 was 90. For black women, almost 95% of the women during that time were married to black men. This thinking that we don't want each other is crazy on a bunch of different levels. Let me tell you why this narrative, because all of a sudden, right, I get all these people asking me, why are there so many commercials and TV shows now of black women falling in love with white men? A couple reasons. One, they want their economy. So they got to conclude them. But two, now they want their reproductive systems. Marcell, whoa, you're being weird. What are you talking about? Well, in 2013, you can see this report here. Well, actually, not just 2013, 2012 first. It was noted that the death rate was greater than the birth rate. And yelled, for the first time ever. Then in 2013, next year, for the first time ever, the death rate was greater than the birth rate for albino or white brothers and sisters, scientifically known as albinoid or albinoism, devoid of melanin, based on science. But nevertheless, white brothers and sisters, the death rate was greater than the birth rate. Same thing in 2014, same thing in 2015. In record numbers, commercials, TV shows. We got to start having sex with the group that reproduces. How do we know that the melanin people reproduce? Well, in all the efforts for abortions and abortion clinics Planned Parenthood has in the black community, we already know about all of that, right? Y'all I hope you do. You know all the statistics. If you don't, dear God. All of the efforts in Africa, right, genocide, and all of this stuff, the planet of melanin people over the past decade has gone from 6 billion to 7 billion. So you can imagine the deaths, but we still have grown, despite all that, by another billion people, while the death rate for Europeans is greater than birth rate. And it's not just in the United States. Look at all the places, right? If you see a line, it's either right on the line where they're not growing at all, or literally the death rate is greater than the birth rate. So, but this myth that black men do not want black women is absolutely retarded. Melanin people always, in general, 95% of the time, are looking at, especially black men, looking at the shapes, the curves, the smell, all of the beauty of melanin women. Stop lying on us, please. Next myth. The next myth is black women are having to marry down in record numbers. Keep in mind who owns 96% of the media. They have them married down in record numbers. Married down on who? That would imply that black women are more successful than black men. Now, graduating from places is not the same thing as equating from success. So in education, black women are more educated than black men. But let's talk incomes and ability to pay bills and buy things and property and clothes and houses and wealth. No, it's a myth. What are you talking about? I don't care if you're talking about $40,000, $30,000. You're talking about, in most cases, at the lowest, 25% ahead of black women. In other cases, it almost doubles. Actually, let me read this here. It says black women in this article here, right? You read it on your screen, are more likely to graduate with a college degree than their counterparts, other black men. But black men, look at this, are more likely to bring home at least $75,000 annually. When it comes to making $250,000, so $100,000, it gets crazy. It's like 60, 70% higher. It's not $250,000, it's double. When you start getting to the higher it gets, it gets really small. Black men are not leading financially. Have you lost your mind? But this is a myth that continually gets taught in our communities. And so it's done to divide a division, have a sense of entitlement and power. And they say, well, the black men and the black women that are educated, they are not getting married. That's the next myth. If they're educated, no one wants to marry a black woman. Look at these statistics. Most of the time, they're picking statistics of girls at age 18 to 25. Yeah, black women, a whole bunch of them aren't getting married at 18 to 25. You know why? Because against their counterparts, white women, they're in college. They're leading all the races of women in terms of, well, definitely the white women, in terms of having college degrees. They're studying, they're graduating at a higher rate. So yeah, they're not getting married. But when they get to about 35 years old, they've acquired something. They have something of value to add to the marriage, right? And they've already started having children and building a family. These are the statistics for black women at that point. So look at this. 75% of black women marry before age 35. By the time they turn 35, most black women are married. That's a lie. And so now you got the millennials and young women thinking that, and they think everybody's replaceable. And so they create a narrative and they lie so much that you begin to believe the lie and live out the lie. And it was never true to begin with. Look at this. More black women in small towns have higher marriage rates than white women in urban centers, such as New York and Los Angeles. So the small town black women are getting married even more than white women in the big cities. With all these choices, they're still having more. They're getting married more. This next one, I'm hoping not to even waste your time when I talk about it a lot. So I'll just get right to it. This is an absolute myth that black women and Latino women are the food stamp queens. I'm not sure. He who controls the media, right? If you could write the check to tell the story, people are going to believe it. So let's just get to it. Right, I'll give you the national statistics. There are more white women getting food stamps, welfare, government assistance, right? Even though there's a religion of white supremacy designed to excel white people, somehow there's still more white women getting food stamps than all the black, Latino, Native American, and Asian women combined. Yes, combined. I can still throw in another group. Not only do white women rely on the government more, they stay on it longer than the other races. Even though the system is designed for white women and white men, somehow they're still needing assistance more than any other race. Ironically, these are a lot of the exact same people from the exact same states that voted for Donald Trump to become president when he made it clear that he's going to cut a lot of these programs. I'm going to repeat again. There's more white women getting food stamps than all the black women, Latinos, Asians, and Native Americans combined. Good luck with that. Another myth, that white men and white women are more desired than blacks, and black women aren't as desirable. And first off, the planet grew by an additional billion people over the past decade, so we had to be sleeping with somebody, and they were melanin women, so that's nonsense. But let's just look at actual data. When they look at the top porn sites, watch. The top porn sites, when they were talking about ethnicities or racial groups or cultures, there were the top 2 or 3 searches were all like twisted stuff, like women with women, and they were more topics. They're picking topics. But when they search for an actual race, the #1 word that was searched for porn, what is that, hundreds of millions, a billion people? You know what the word was? Black. It's a myth. If these magazines really reflected the desires of people across the world, their sexual desires and their passion to be with somebody and have children and raise them with a family, you would see nothing probably but black women and black men on the front covers of a whole lot of magazines. Let's go to the next myth. Blacks and Latinos are broke. That's another myth. Blacks are worth $2.4 trillion. See, those who control the narrative like to talk about our buying power. They don't like to talk about worth. Blacks are worth $2.4 trillion, and Latinos are worth $2.7 trillion. That's over $5 trillion. Does that sound broke to you? Another myth, that blacks would do better preparing for the real world going to white schools and white colleges than if they went to black schools and black colleges and universities. That doesn't really prepare them for the real world. You ready? Watch this. All you got to do is Google blacks that graduate from black colleges versus white colleges, and this is the first stuff that starts showing up. I think they give you 3.9 million results. But the ones that pop up in the beginning let you know already. The HBCUs, African Americans graduating from there, or blacks graduating from the HBCUs, are more leaders. They control more. They own more businesses. They're in positions of power way more than blacks that graduate from white universities. Let me put that in perspective why that is insanely amazing. Insanely amazing. You know how many white universities there are? Over 5,000. Do you know how many black colleges and universities there are, my friend? Barely over 100. Black colleges and universities make up 2% of the nation's education. But yet and still, black colleges and universities produce 70% of dentists and black physicians for the country. 2% of the group produce half of all the teachers. All the black teachers you see are coming from HBCUs. I'm going to just talk about Xavier University in New Orleans, right? Just Xavier. Xavier alone produces more medical school applicants than Harvard, than Johns Hopkins, than the University of Maryland combined. Xavier University in New Orleans. That sound like the real world to you? Let me give you some more real world, because y'all want to prepare y'all children for the real world. Let me get you ready for the real world. That's the thing. So we're going to look at the top 20 HBCUs, just and revenue producers, right? So when the kids graduate, how much money do they make in the real world? Out of the top 20, all of them are making more to start their career. Their first job, their starting salary, is more than 70% of the rest of America. Real world, though. Another myth is that black men are not working and are lazy or whatever. Black men in terms of business in recent years have grown by 400% in terms of entrepreneurs, more than white males, right? Another myth. Black men don't take care of their children. Let's look at some quick studies on that. One, in terms of black fathers who live with their children, 70% of them bathe, change their diapers, dress them, etc. at home, more than any other race, period, in the United States. Black fathers who live with their children read to them 4 out of 5, more than the white male race. The black fathers who live with their children, 82% of them play with their children at least once a day. Again, leading all races in America. This is the one here that's incredibly impressive. Of the black fathers that do not live with the children, right? They don't live there. They're still leading all the other races to come by, to check their homework, to take them to activities. So I think we need to just address this whole child support thing once and for all and make sure we're clear with this, right? So there seems to be a mindset that black men be going through all efforts to not pay child support, and that somebody is writing a whole lot of checks to make sure that that narrative is said about your husbands, your wives, your sons, your nephews, uncles. The question is it true? I believed it. When I heard it, I had a chip on my shoulder towards black men. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. I pay all the bills, right? I don't have any child support issues. My children live with me and my wife, and we've been in the same household. No problems there. So I'm not here to defend myself or defend anybody. 1 Corinthians, love delights in the truth. So what is the daggone truth? The truth is that 70% of the black men that make $10,000 to $16,000 a year, you're talking about make 20 to 40 bucks a day. That's enough to get breakfast for you, your child, and your girlfriend or your wife. Breakfast. Maybe a little bit for lunch. Not dinner, not gas, electric, not clothes, not any of that. Guys that make $10,000 to $16,000 are the ones in general who owe a balance of child support, or they currently are locked up. And then when they get out, they have a record, right? Federal record, whatever they have. And then no one wants to hire them because they're doing background checks and credit checks. And they say, you have a record, I'm sorry, you can't work here. So now they can't provide an income to take care of their family. It's cyclical, the poverty, the money. And then everybody's divided, but the money continues to go in somebody else's economy and they're loving it. It works for them. So they got put out the article again because it's working. They're making money on it. Clowns. But this is also the national statistic that black men that make $40,000 and higher have virtually no balance for child support at all that's owed. 96%. So it's a direct correlation with, not the black men are deadbeat dads and they run. It's a direct correlation for every man on the planet. Asian, Native American, white, black, blind. You could jump, run, dance. I don't care what you could do. It's very clear. You don't have no money, you can't take care of nobody. But the black men that have the money to do it, 40,000 and higher, which is not a whole lot, they have virtually no balance. Other misses, I have a better chance at succeeding at basketball or football than I do anything else. First off, there are more scholarships available just for playing music in the band at a university, scholarships, than basketball, football, and baseball scholarships combined for African American men. It's crazy. Actually, let me let this guy kind of,
There were 1 million black boys last year that wanted to play in the NBA. Of that million, only 400,000 will even make it to play high school ball. Of that 400,000, only 4,000 will be able to make it to play college ball. Of that 4,000, only 35 will make it to the NBA. Of that 35, only 7 start. And the average life in the NBA is 4 years. So the real problem is we have 1 million brothers looking for 7 full-time jobs that last 4 years. And yet last year we had 100,000 jobs available to be a computer programmer, engineer, or doctor, and only 1,000 brothers qualified. So our appeal to black males is to realize the odds. That you do most will be that you do best.
Honestly, I could keep going, but I'm going to stop. The bottom line is it's easy to lie on you, and somebody else can control your narrative and tell a different story about you when you give away your economy. That's it. It's just simple. You give away your money, somebody get to tell your story different. Which leads me to my next point about acceptance versus agreement. This one is huge to me.